Lerato Sebata founded Procurement with Lerato out of love for the profession and years of experience. She says there are misconceptions around the procurement industry.
The misconceptions about procurement is that firstly, everything is a tender. Not everything else runs through a tender process. That's the first one. And then secondly, it's also if there's brown envelopes all over. It's a corrupt environment. People are not ethical. Those are just false misconceptions. I mean, you're not oblivious to the fact that those things happen, but that's just one of the misconceptions, And another thing is it's just the paperwork. Procurement is not just paperwork and administration. You go to school, you get qualified to be a procurement officer.
Supplying goods and services is one of the ways that some people start their entrepreneurial journey. Sebata says there's the correct way of getting into this industry that she says will ensure success. She shares important advice if this is your preferred route for business.
The first things first, as an entrepreneur, you must have your company registered. Okay? It's as basic as that. You must get your company registered with SABC. You must get your profile right. You must write a business profile so that when you submit that to a procurement officer, you know what is it that you're offering. And another thing is make sure your compliance documents are in place. Compliance, I mean your BEE certificate, your tax clearance, your VAT, if you are going to be a VAT paying supplier, right? So you have to get those compliance documents right. And this is where some of them get it wrong. To do your due diligence, even as an entrepreneur, if you want to tender, due diligence is quite important in essence that if you receive an email now from Diabo at SABC, right, .coza, that might not be Diabo from SABC, could be some syndicate happening, fraudulent. And then you just get an email from nowhere, you phone out those people, they organize and say, okay, yes, we do actually provide this at this place, and you're of the opinion that you're calling a supplier, right? And that's not. Then you start paying money into fraudulent, which you're not even aware, and then you're defrauded. The other important thing is when you receive the tender document, you must read it. Entrepreneurs don't read tender documents. They just go right into what must I supply, and they forget about a lot of things that's required. And when you read the tender document, you understand the requirements. That helps you also understand what is this evaluation criteria that's needed for you to qualify. What they shouldn't do, I think the important thing is to be a master of all, like I said, and not focus on anything, because then you're not really building a proper portfolio, a brand for yourself. If you were successful in maybe 2-3 tenders that you got yourself into, and you use that very same money that you were paid to render a service, you use it for personal use, to pay rent, to pay electricity loosely without understanding how to manage your books. That does affect your portfolio, because as procurement we look into your financial statements. So if your financial statements are not in order, obviously you're not going to be one of the preferred suppliers. So you must manage your funds correctly so that you are also running a sustainable business.
Sebata points out that tenders and bidding is competitive and one should be careful of pricing themselves out of the market.
Price is very important. If you are then going to supply us with a service or a product, you don't just price the top of your head. You must understand the cost drivers of that which you're providing and what are your margins. Some people lose it on the pricing because they don't provide the profit margin that are sufficient or that is really reasonable. Some people will put 30% markup to something that needed only 15% markup. Then you're off the ballpark. So you have to make sure that you price correctly.
Diabo Seto, SABC News, Johannesburg.